He was born a predator, but for one little boy, he chose to be a protector. This is the unbelievable story of a bobcat who became a boy's guardian angel. The air in a Montana dawn was sharp and cold. It smelled of pine needles and damp earth. Light, the color of weak tea, filtered through the towering trees, painting long, skeletal shadows on the forest floor. Clara Vance moved through the woods with a quiet confidence. Her boots made little sound on the soft ground. For 15 years, she had been a licensed wildlife rehabilitator. This forest was as much her home as the house she shared with her husband, David. She knew its rhythms, its sounds, and its secrets. This morning, a secret was waiting for her. A local rancher had called about a small animal, motionless near an old logging trail. Clara knelt, her knees sinking into the cold mulch. In front of her lay a tiny, still form. It was a bobcat kitten, no more than 8 weeks old. His exquisitely spotted coat was matted with dirt and burrs. His body was a fragile collection of sharp angles beneath the fur. He was terribly thin. Clara's mind worked with the precision of a surgeon. Her trained eyes swept the area. No mother's tracks, no signs of a struggle, no scent of a larger predator. The nearby highway was a likely culprit. A mother bobcat, hit by a car, leaving her kitten to slowly starve. He was severely dehydrated, his breathing shallow and rapid. Without help, he wouldn't see another sunrise. Her professional assessment was complete, but her heart felt a familiar, painful squeeze. Every orphan was a tragedy, a small tear in the fabric of the wild. But there was something about this one, an aura of profound stillness. "Well, little fella," she whispered, her voice a soft cloud in the frigid air. "It looks like you're coming home with me." She carefully unwrapped the fleece jacket from her waist and gently bundled the kitten inside. He was so light he felt like nothing more than a handful of dry leaves. He didn't stir. Her rehabilitation facility was a converted barn on their 20-acre property. It was a place of healing, meticulously clean and organized. The air smelled of hay, disinfectant, and a faint, wild musk. Clara laid the kitten on a stainless steel examination table under a warm lamp. Her movements were methodical, honed by years of practice. She found a delicate vein in his tiny foreleg and expertly inserted a forecatheter. The clear fluid, full of electrolytes and sugars, began to drip, a slow promise of life returning. She prepared a special formula, a rich milk replacement designed specifically for wild felines. Her husband, David, appeared in the doorway, his silhouette framed by the morning light. His face, weathered by a lifetime under the Montana sky, was etched with concern. He didn't need to ask what she was doing. He knew the look on her face. "Another one?" he asked, his voice a low rumble. He stepped inside, bringing with him the scent of coffee and sawdust. "A bobcat kitten," Clara replied, her focus entirely on her patient. "Maybe 8 weeks. No sign of the mother." David nodded, his gaze falling on the pathetic little creature. "He's a tiny one, going to be tough." He understood the unspoken challenges. At 8 weeks, a kitten was on the cusp of learning crucial survival skills. A mother bobcat is a demanding teacher. She teaches her young how to stalk, how to kill, how to read the wind, and how to fear humans. A hand-reared bobcat might grow up healthy, but it would be a wild animal with no knowledge of how to be wild. Release was often a fantasy. As Clara gently cleaned the kitten's face with a warm, damp cloth, his eyes fluttered open. They were enormous, a shocking, luminous gold. They weren't the unfocused eyes of a domestic kitten. They were sharp and intelligent, and they seemed to look right through her, into a place of deep knowing. He didn't hiss. He didn't struggle or try to bite. That was the most unusual thing of all. A wild animal, even a weak one, should fight. Instead, he made a small, questioning sound, a strange mix of a meow and a bird's chirp. "Oh, you're going to be trouble, aren't you?" Clara murmured, feeling that inexplicable tug on her heart grow stronger. She felt a connection that defied logic. She decided to call him Jasper. The name felt solid and beautiful, like the stone it was named for. Over the next few days, Jasper fought his way back. He was a resilient little soul. He began to take the formula from a bottle, his tiny paws with their needle-sharp claws kneading the air in a primal rhythm of contentment. His recovery was remarkable, but his behavior grew more and more peculiar. He craved human contact. He would purr, a deep, rumbling sound that vibrated through Clara's hands whenever she held him. When she placed him back in his warm, soft enclosure, he would cry his little chirp meow until she returned. He was acting less like a wild bobcat and more like a domestic cat, but with an intensity that was entirely his own. It was during one of these feeding sessions that Clara's daughter-in-law, Sarah, came to visit. Sarah was 7 months pregnant, her body round and full of new life. She moved with a slow, deliberate grace, a hand resting on her swollen belly. She found Clara in the barn, sitting in a rocking chair with the tiny bobcat cradled in her arms. "Oh my goodness," Sarah breathed, her eyes wide. "Clara, he's beautiful." Jasper's ears, already showing the tiny black tufts of his breed, perked up at the sound of Sarah's voice. He turned his head and stared at her with his piercing golden eyes. "Want to hold him?" Clara offered, sensing a shift in the room's energy. Sarah hesitated, her protective maternal instincts surfacing. "Is it safe? I mean, with the baby and all." "He's been health checked and vaccinated," Clara assured her. "And honestly, Sarah, I have never in all my years seen a wild kitten this gentle. There's something different about him." Trusting her mother-in-law completely, Sarah sat down and carefully took Jasper into her arms. He was warm and surprisingly solid. What happened next would become the cornerstone of their family's story. Jasper stopped nursing. He stretched his small, lithe body, and with a sense of purpose that was stunning to witness, he laid his head directly on Sarah's pregnant belly. He nestled in, as if he had found the one place in the world he was meant to be. A moment later, he began to purr. It wasn't a kitten's soft rumble. It was a deep, resonant thrumming that seemed to come from the very center of the earth. The vibration traveled through Sarah's skin, deep into her womb. "Oh," Sarah gasped, her hands flying to her stomach. The baby's kicking. He never kicks this much. It's like he's dancing." Clara watched, utterly mesmerized. Jasper adjusted his position slightly, his head following the frantic movements of the unborn child within. His purr never faltered. His eyes were half closed, a look of profound peace on his wild face. It was as if two souls were communicating in a language no one else could understand. "I think," Clara said, her voice filled with wonder, "he has chosen you. Both of you." That single, magical moment changed everything. Clara had been wrestling with the ethical dilemma of Jasper's future. He was too habituated to humans, too lacking in the essential fear that would keep him alive in the wild. He was, in wildlife terms, non-releasable. Now, seeing this incredible, instantaneous bond, a new path appeared. A risky, unconventional path. The family had many long discussions. Liam, Sarah's husband, was a practical man, an engineer who saw the world in terms of logic and risk assessment. The idea of raising his first child alongside a wild predator, no matter how gentle, was terrifying to him. "Sarah, he's a bobcat," he had said one evening, his voice laced with worry. "He's not a house cat. What happens when he's 25 pounds of muscle and instinct? What happens when Leo is crawling on the floor?" "I know," Sarah had replied, her hand on her belly, where the baby was kicking softly. "But you weren't there, Liam. You didn't see it. It's more than just a tame animal. It's a connection. I feel it. The baby feels it. I can't explain it, but I know in my heart he would never, ever hurt our child." Clara and David backed her up. They consulted with wildlife veterinarians, animal behaviorists, and state authorities. The process was long and complicated, filled with paperwork and inspections. But Clara's reputation was impeccable. The story of Jasper and the unborn baby was so extraordinary that, in the end, they were granted the special permits. Jasper could remain with the Vance family as a permanent educational animal. The house became a construction zone. David and Liam worked together to build a massive outdoor enclosure that was more like a natural habitat. It had towering logs for climbing, a rocky den with a heated floor for the brutal Montana winters, and even a small, circulating stream. Inside, they installed reinforced screens and custom-built gates to create safe zones. They were preparing for a future with a boy and a bobcat. As Sarah's due date neared, Jasper's behavior became even more pronounced. He was her constant, silent shadow. He followed her from room to room, never crowding her, but always keeping her in his line of sight. When she rested on the couch, he would lie on the floor nearby, a tawny, spotted sentinel, his ears swiveling to catch the slightest sound. Liam, despite his lingering skepticism, had to admit it was remarkable. The bobcat radiated an aura of protective calm. On a bitterly cold December morning, under a sky the color of lead, Sarah went into labor. At the house, Jasper became unglued. He paced his enclosure relentlessly, his paws making anxious, scratching sounds on the wooden platforms. He began to vocalize, not with his usual chirps, but with long, mournful calls that echoed across the snow-covered property. It was a sound of deep distress. Clara stayed home from the hospital to care for him. He wouldn't settle, she told Sarah later on the phone. He paced and called for hours. It was like he was in labor with you. The moment I got the call from David that Leo was born and that you were both okay, he stopped. Just like that. He went into his den and fell silent. He was just waiting for news. 3 days later, Sarah and Liam brought their son home. They named him Leo. The air in the house was thick with anticipation. They had a plan, carefully constructed with the help of experts. They would introduce them slowly, allowing Jasper to get used to the baby's scent and sounds from a distance. But Jasper, as always, had his own plan. The moment Sarah walked through the front door, carrying Leo wrapped in a soft blue blanket, Jasper appeared at the baby gate separating the living room from the rest of the house. He wasn't pacing. He wasn't vocalizing. He sat, perfectly still, his wild energy focused into a laser beam of concentration. His golden eyes were fixed on the bundle in Sarah's arms. The look was one of intense, overwhelming curiosity, utterly devoid of threat. He made a soft, questioning chirp. "Should we?" Sarah whispered, looking to Clara for guidance. Clara observed Jasper's body language. Every muscle was relaxed. His tail was still. His ears were forward, curious. In all her years, she had learned to read the subtle signals of the animal world. Jasper was communicating pure, gentle interest. "Let's try the next step," she said, her voice steady. She opened the gate, though she kept a firm, reassuring hand on Jasper's collar. What followed was a moment suspended in time, a tableau of pure magic. Jasper moved forward, not with the fluid grace of a predator, but with a slow, deliberate caution that was breathtaking to watch. He placed each paw carefully, as if the floor were made of thin ice. When he was about 3 feet from Sarah and the baby, he stopped. He then lowered himself to the ground, his belly flat against the wood floor, making himself as small and non-threatening as a powerful young cat could. And then, he waited. He deferred to them. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes and streamed down her cheeks. She slowly knelt, bringing Leo down to Jasper's eye level. The bobcat's nose twitched, taking in the new, milky scent of the baby. Then, he began to purr. It was the deep, soul-shaking rumble she remembered from before, a sound of recognition and welcome. Leo, who had been starting to fuss, immediately went still. His whole body relaxed in his mother's arms. His unfocused newborn eyes seemed to search for the source of the soothing vibration. One tiny, perfect fist escaped from his swaddle and waved aimlessly in the air, inches from Jasper's nose. "Can you believe this?" Liam whispered, his camera phone completely forgotten in his hand. His skepticism dissolved in that moment, replaced by a profound sense of wonder. From that day on, Jasper was Leo's self-appointed guardian. His devotion was absolute. During late-night feedings, he would lie on the rug in the nursery, a silent, furry bodyguard. When Leo napped in his bassinet, Jasper would curl up beside it, his ears twitching at every sigh and gurgle. More than once, Sarah or Liam would be awakened by Jasper's soft chirping, a gentle alarm that sounded seconds before Leo began to cry for a diaper change or a feeding. He was an early warning system powered by love. The weeks turned into months, and the bond between the boy and the bobcat became the central pillar of their family life. When Leo was 4 months old and struggling with tummy time, Jasper seemed to instinctively understand the challenge. He would lie on his side near Leo's playmat and perform an exaggerated, slow-motion roll over and over again. Leo would watch, fascinated, before giggling and kicking his legs, inspired to try himself. "I swear he's teaching him," Sarah marveled to Clara. "Bobcat mothers are dedicated teachers," Clara replied, a thoughtful smile on her face. "His instincts are all there. They're just directed at Leo." When Leo finally, triumphantly, rolled over for the first time, Jasper's excitement was palpable. He pranced in happy circles around the baby, chirping with delight. Leo, for his part, reserved his biggest, most joyful smiles for his feline companion. The real test came when Leo started crawling at 8 months. The family held their breath as their son's newfound mobility brought him into direct, unsupervised contact with Jasper. But the bobcat adapted seamlessly. He played a gentle game of chase, always staying just out of reach of Leo's enthusiastic but clumsy grabs. He never once showed a hint of annoyance. His protective instincts also became more apparent. One afternoon, Leo made a beeline for the open staircase. Before Liam could react, Jasper darted in front of the baby, planting his body like a furry roadblock. He chirped a low, insistent warning until Liam scooped the adventurous toddler up. Jasper had become not just a friend, but a safety feature. Leo's first birthday was a quiet celebration. Jasper, now a sleek and powerful 20-pound adolescent, wore a festive bandana and watched calmly as Leo gleefully smashed a small cake. "A year ago, I was terrified," Liam admitted to David, as they watched the boy and the bobcat. Now I can't imagine Leo's life without him." The milestones continued. Leo's first wobbly steps were taken on a determined journey across the living room rug, his arms outstretched not toward his parents, but toward Jasper, who sat waiting like a furry destination. Leo collapsed against his soft fur in a triumphant heap. As Leo's vocabulary expanded, "Jap Jap" was among his first words, spoken with the same reverence as "Mama" and "Dada." Sarah would often find them in Leo's room, the toddler reading a picture book aloud, pointing at the colorful pages, while Jasper listened with his eyes half closed, purring softly. When Leo was 2, the family decided to attempt a visit to the mall Santa. After careful arrangements with the mall management, they were allowed to come an hour before opening. The sight was surreal. A small boy in a Christmas sweater walking confidently through the silent, glittering mall, holding his father's hand while a full-grown bobcat walked calmly on a leash beside him. Leo, emboldened by Jasper's presence, climbed onto Santa's lap without hesitation. He insisted Jasper sit beside him. The resulting photograph, a beaming toddler, an amused Santa, and a dignified bobcat looking directly at the camera, was a perfect encapsulation of their unique family. "Ho ho ho," Santa chuckled, clearly enchanted. "Well, this is a first. He's a bobby cat," Leo informed him solemnly. Not a kitty cat. As they were leaving, Leo leaned in and whispered a secret in Santa's ear. The old man's eyes twinkled. I'll see what I can do, he promised. On the way home, Sarah asked what he'd said. I asked for toys for Jasper, too. Leo said matter-of-factly. He needs Christmas presents. And on Christmas morning, beneath the glittering tree, alongside the trucks and blocks for Leo, was a small pile of presents wrapped in crinkly paper for Jasper. They contained sturdy rope toys, puzzle feeders, and a new, soft bed for his den. Sarah sat on the floor, her heart overflowing, as she watched her son excitedly help his best friend unwrap his gifts. Leo would tear off a piece of paper and hand it to Jasper, who would bat it playfully with his paw. It was a scene of such pure, unconventional love. Looking at the boy and his wild guardian, playing together in the warm glow of the Christmas lights, Sarah knew she was witnessing a miracle. A life saved in a cold forest had, in turn, saved them all, creating a bond of instinct, friendship, and a love that defied every explanation.